let's talk about self-leadership today. And so this video is ideal for you if you are open to a conversation, if you are open to explore a different way of thinking and want to do it together so you can figure out your own way as you paving your way towards building your own business venture. And so today I'd like to share with you both my experience and a lot of learning that I have done along the way in terms of self-leadership, why it is important and how I look at it, and why it is now for me the core to focus on in helping to focus on so that I can become a better leader for others. So first of all, self-leadership is something that I started paying attention when I went into business and I started building my team. And as I was building my team, I realized that the only way I can lead others is from my personal experience. So that is where my journey of personal development, all sorts of courses, doing everything you can imagine, started doing all the imagined certifications. I mean, I have them all, but they don't quite represent who I am. That's why I don't really mention any of the programs, because I find it's limiting. I'm none of those things and I'm all of those things at the same time. Anyways, let's go back to the topic and talking about self-leadership. And so in the journey of leading others, I started realizing that my drivers for why I wanted to become a leader, for why I wanted to lead others, were drivers out of the weakness as opposed to of strength. And by drivers, I mean something that was in me that drove me towards those things. And what I discovered those drivers were is that I wanted to be a leader to look good. I wanted to be a leader to look smart and to be enough, because fundamentally the layer underneath that was that I myself didn't feel like I was enough. And so having discovered that, I realized how the whole premise on which I led was built on the premise that I myself was not enough. And that made me think about how good of a leader was I if I were leading from I'm not enough, so I want to look good, therefore I learn, I do difficult projects, and I lead others so that I look good, as opposed to leading from strength. I am enough. I'm leading other people to share my experience with them, to allow them to tap to all the knowledge, all the expertise I have, so that they can figure out their own way with the care, the love, and the tools that I give them. And those are two different paths. So once I've seen that and kind of started seeing the whole premise on which I was moving towards leadership and how I was doing leadership, if you will, that whole context didn't have any power in it, didn't have any inspiration, because I was doing it for something to prove myself, as opposed to create a different future for myself, a different future for people that I was leading. So that is one of the key realizations that turned me back into, before I lead others, or actually, let me take a step back. That is where I took a step back. I took a break after all of my ventures and decided to turn inwards and start looking into myself and reconnect with myself, because I too realized that my leadership was based on investing into other people over myself, in the sense of like whether that's people pleasing or doing something so that I feel validated, so that I feel loved. All of that was just all about me. And seeing that made me realize how I just didn't have a great example of what the leader is. And you know what, even acknowledging all of that, I was like, was that me? Like, I have never had that intention, and I never thought that about myself. But having discovered some of those tendencies, I actually started rebuilding myself, and doing so through self-leadership first, and delaying the leadership just because I wanted to actually get back to myself and understand myself. I wanted to start relating to myself, because as much as I wanted to lead other people, I wasn't leading myself, because I was not relating to myself as a human being. I was relating to myself as somebody who can do things, who can climb mountains and accomplish challenging things, and I would accomplish those through pushing through, right? But not through love, not through any other means than, okay, push it, and on the cost of myself, my needs, my wants, and such. So that is where self-leadership became the cornerstone, because I understood that if I were not to reconnect with myself and understand what is driving me, what are my needs, what makes me behave the way I do, I will not understand people either. If I cannot relate to myself, how can I relate to anybody else? And you know, there's a lot of talk about, if you cannot love yourself, how can you love others? And I really believe that's true, because I really started getting it, that if I can't relate to my interest, or to my needs, or to what I want, or what do I want to create, in that sense, I actually have lack of self-knowledge to build on top of, right? So that's the first thing. And then having that lack of self-knowledge, I just randomly then do things as opposed to intentionally. And so what has changed for me is having that self-knowledge, having understanding of who I am, what I want to build, knowing my strengths, what I value, you know, really connecting with people. I value freedom and experience, and really just bringing beautiful things to life. Without reconnecting with myself, I wouldn't not have that. And this understanding then allowed me to look, so what is driving my behavior? Now I know myself, I know what I want, and why I still cannot get up at the time that I set myself to get up, why I still cannot do this as I said I will do. And that again opened up a different layer for me, where I started learning about my behaviors and what they were rooted in, and how to rewire my brain so that I can actually lead myself towards what I know I want. And that practice has been one of the most challenging and most fascinating practices for me to establish, because I essentially had to reparent myself. I essentially had to create the training for myself on a daily basis. As a business owner, I have my aspirations that I want to create, the life I want to create, and then the business that I'm building. And then it comes to, what am I doing on a daily basis? What is my schedule? What time do I need to go to bed? What time do I need to wake up? What do I do, and in what order, to bring my vision of life and business to life? And in that, I just can't recommend you enough to pay attention to yourself, to reconnect with yourself, so that you I'll use this overused word authentic. You know who you are authentically, because from that relation with yourself, you will know how to relate to others and how to help others to move through their own challenges in getting to know themselves, in getting to know their own behaviors, in getting to know how to lead. And yeah, it's a journey. It's a fun and very challenging journey. And so with this, I'd like to invite you to join me on this channel so that we can explore and talk about self-leadership, talk about how to build your values aligned business, such as knowing yourself, knowing your values. How can you structure your business for that? And then how to create and rebuild relationships so that they are meaningful, so that they are nurturing and beneficial to you and them. I wish you a great day, and I'll see you soon in the next video.